Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Travis.
And I'm George.
And George is in for a treat tonight as we head back to 1980. George, are you ready for Friday the 13th?
Yes.
Do you have any idea what you're going to expect?
No.
Okay. That's the way we like it.
I've never seen it.
Do you have any idea why we would immediately follow Halloween with a movie that also has a kind of ominous calendar-based title?
No.
Good. Let's keep it that way. Travis,
All right, great.
you ready to go, man?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get to work. George. You. Watch. A movie tonight that kicked a lot of ass. Am I right?
Sure did.
Okay. See you next time.
Good night.
Bye.
Peace.
All
yeah,
right.
this one was a good one.
So we had George watch the original Friday the 13th from 1980. Sean S. Cunningham, Victor Miller, Tom Savini, Phil Scuderi, all kinds of names that are probably falling on George's deaf ears. But
He should know Savini. Savini, you've heard that name before, Tom
I
Savini.
recognize the name, but
George. Hey.
What?
That's enough fake echoplex for one day. Did you know that's actually an echoplex in that effect?
no.
He just hooked a mic up to an old echoplex and just did the k and the ma and then let it do its own thing.
What's funny is that quickly developed over the years into ch.
Yep,
But it
it
is
switches back and forth in the sequels. It's super annoying.
Originally, yes, it's kill, mom.
So George,
Yeah.
Friday the 13th.
First impressions.
It was killer.
Is that a pun or is that just really accurate?
No, it's just how I explain things that are awesome.
It had a lot of psycho in there.
Yeah, it did.
It has a lot of psycho in there.
Yeah. This movie had everything. I feel like Stefan from Saturday Night Live. This movie has everything. No, but seriously, it was so well done. Even I couldn't predict what was going to happen. The first time I was really surprised was when, I don't know the character's name, but it was Kevin Bacon.
Yes.
When Kevin Bacon dies. Holy crap.
Yeah, that comes out of nowhere.
It's a
Comes
bit
out
of a
of nowhere.
non sequitur. Yeah, it pops
No, it
right
comes out
out
of
of
his
there,
chest.
you know.
and then for the rest of the movie, that could happen again at any time.
Right.
To anybody. It doesn't matter. It kept me guessing. I had no idea what was going on.
It has that feel of Halloween with the voyeuristic killer. You're not seeing the killer at all. So, obviously, for obvious reasons. They do it just in a way, all the edits and everything. You can't tell what the killer looks like, the gender of the killer. It's happening in front of you. It's nothing like off screen. You're just automatically thinking it's Jason the whole time. The POV worked.
Absolutely.
So did you spend 90% of this movie assuming that Jason Voorhees was running loose in the camp?
I thought that that's basically what the movie would be before I went into it. As the movie progressed, I thought, this doesn't seem like the Jason that I know or think I know or the vision of Jason that I have in my head. And there were little things that kind of pointed to, not Jason. Specifically for me, it was when you see the fingers from like behind the curtain, one of the bathroom scenes. And I was just like, that is not Jason. I thought it was maybe the crazy guy that was telling them they were all doomed. And then
the head counselor.
Or somebody. And then after, he does his thing, I thought like, well, I'm trying to think of all the different things that could happen. I'm like, well, maybe after they find that guy out and, figure him out and kill him and think they're safe, then Jason's going to come. Like, how is this going to work?
What's funny is, Dan, I was watching the last half hour with him. So I'm thinking like George, because I've seen it enough times, so I'm trying to figure it out for him in a way. Like I'm thinking he's going to think that the same thing like Texas Chainsaw. Jason's mother is working with Jason when she pulls up and they show her and they reveal her, because he knows Jason Voorhees' name. So as soon as she says, right, I'm Mrs. Voorhees, I thought for sure he was going to make the connection that possibly she's working with Jason in that Texas Chainsaw kind of manner where his uncles and brothers are all working together.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, is that going to be something he's going to think? And is that going to change his viewpoint of the reveal? But he never said anything, didn't make a sound or anything. So I was like, okay, maybe he didn't think that, and that's just my mind going too deep.
Well, I did think that. I didn't know what to think. That was kind of the beauty of it. I didn't know what to think. I had that thought, that
Right.
Jason's mother might be working together, or
At what point did you realize that you were not going to see a hockey mask?
when Mrs. Voorhees was dead, basically.
Awesome.
I'm not
Awesome.
kidding.
That's good.
Well, it does kind of give you a vibe that like he's gonna pop up and help her. Like she's especially when she first pops up, she gives you a vibe that like she's looking for her son who may be murdering people, and she's here to pick him up and take him home.
Right. I had suspicions that the killer was not Jason. The further you got into the movie, the more I thought that it was somebody else or.
Well, they set it
whatever.
up purposely to kind of implicate different people. You're always going to assume it's the crazy guy or some kind of
Steve
accountant.
Christie, don't forget Steve.
Yeah, Steve.
MF and Christie.
Yeah, they kind of put him out there, and they set you up with that because he's driving a Jeep. The one who picked up the hitchhiker camper was driving a Jeep. But then I realized everybody's driving a friggin' Jeep. So.
Are you talking about Joe Exotic?
Joe Exotic?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
The parallel.
Right.
I was like, holy crap, is that Joe Exotic? He's acting a lot like Joe Exotic.
Right.
He was awful like friendly with poor Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's cool is they kind of set you up to think that the camper / hitchhiker was going to be the main character, the girl.
Again, another reason why this movie kept me guessing.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were setting
She's
you up
dead,
for.
and
And
you're
she's
like,
dead in 10 minutes.
I mean, that is straight out of Psycho.
Yeah.
They're retooling Hitchcock for their own devices.
Why not? It worked. It got George twice.
And the sound was also channeling Hitchcock as well.
The music, definitely.
One thing that was not based in Psycho was the animal murder.
Yeah.
They kill a snake. That's a real snake.
I was wondering that. I was like, well, I was thinking of the year of the movie, and I thought, holy crap, that probably was a real snake that they really just killed.
I guess if they would have taxidermied that snake, it would have been right up the Psycho alley.
True.
So it's just pre-taxidermy.
A lot of fake guitar playing in this movie. Kind of constant fake guitar playing at the Kumbaya, folk singer 58 setting, and then also the guy who plays like flamenco guitar for some reason.
Okay, so the 1958 guitar playing was terrible. You could tell it was totally fake. The, I guess, 1980 guitar playing, because of the angle, actually looked pretty good.
He was selling it pretty well. I mean,
He was.
after Blues Brothers, it's hard to like buy into fake guitar playing.
And then Alice hits a few chords
Oh, that's right.
towards the end. What's funny is you can tell she's from theater. Like I kind of was looking into the castings, and a few of the people are from the theater scene, the Broadway scene, and she's one of them. It's like her reactions, you could tell sometimes she's trying to play it like from the stage. Like I was watching, I was like, it's like not overacting, but when you're taught in the stage to, if you're going to talk, I have to talk like this. It's like over exaggerated movements because you want the people in the back of the theater to see what you're doing.
Sure.
So a few of the times I caught her, I was like, oh man, she's so theater.
My favorite, oh man, they're so theater moment actually comes from the Cannes cut of Dawn of the Dead. Have you ever seen that, Travis? The extended, like, not the
No.
director's cut, but the extra long cut.
No, I've only seen the original like theater release.
There's a guy on the docks pretty close to the beginning of the movie, and he does this whole, like, leap forward with his arms out like, we'd be stuck. We'd be stuck.
Right.
We'd be stuck.
It's
We'd
so
be
funny.
stuck.
His delivery
Well,
is
the
straight off of community theater stage, and I love him for it.
Old man, what's his name? Ralph?
Yeah, Crazy Ralph.
He's another one who's like, he could play it really like you're doomed. But he's like, you're doomed. Like he's like totally like hamming it up.
Yeah.
You're all doomed.
You're all doomed. Like you can see the 9 muscles in his lips moving when he's saying doomed. He's like, I played to the guy in the back.
He could have. He was just short of doing his own echoplex himself.
Right.
You're all doomed, doomed.
And when she opens that pantry and he's standing in it, like who stands in a pantry?
How did you get here?
Why are you here? Are you from like Clerks? Did you go in the back with that lady? like just all of a sudden, there's a guy in a pantry. How'd he get in there? Forgot.
Because that was the best way to communicate that they were all doomed.
They were all doomed.
I mean, he certainly made a compelling argument.
Yeah.
Turns out he was right, too. So
was right.
Then there's a parallel to Blues Brothers there because he was also on a mission from God.
Yes.
There you go. Divine. And same year as Blues Brothers, too, right? So just coming at this.
Yeah.
This is the Reagan era, man. We're done with Jimmy Carter's like actual human service Christianity, and now we're on to the 80s, where the missions from God involve cop tires, cop suspension, and machetes and oars.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Sure.
Yes.
I think it was just more like the exaggeration of the guy holding the sign on the side of the road, like Jesus is coming kind of person. Like I don't even know if it goes as far as Christianity, more of like the just apocalyptic mentality. They pop up in a lot of movies.
They're in every generation.
They're like cringeworthy.
That was the 80s, man.
Put the sign away. So, fun note, Dan.
I'm ready.
This movie, New Jersey.
Ooh, is it time? Is it time for the maps? Do we hit the jingle? It's time for maps with Travis and George while Dan falls asleep.
I'm the map. I'm the map. No. Yeah. So that camp still exists, apparently. I found
Camp
out.
Noby's Bosco.
And where
Bosco.
exactly is it, Travis?
It's in Bergen County, I believe.
Bergen County, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
And where is that in relation to other
It's
counties
in the neck
New Jersey?
area of the mailman. There, we did it. Wait, let me fold this map up.
Now I'm gonna need the interstate crossroads so I can look at it on a road atlas.
Yeah, it's like off of exit 14 on the turnpike.
That's so Jersey of you to
Say what exit?
explain. By the exit, by the turnpike exit.
Yeah. Where are you from? I'm from exit 4, Cherry Hill.
Yeah.
So this really is you guys' neck of the woods. Do you spend the whole movie going, oh, wait, I've seen that before. Oh, hey, my parents took me there once. Ooh, wait,
No.
I saw a guy get killed there for real one time.
Not this movie. No. Yeah, it's about an hour and a half away.
I mean,
hour away.
Voorhees is literally
Voorhees
the
is
next
close.
town over
Yeah.
from where I live.
Voorhees is right here.
So the name Voorhees was like, oh, hey, I know that place.
Which is ironically near the Crystal Lake Diner.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that hit home very close to where we live. Crystal Lake, Voorhees.
Yes, Dan, you make fun, but geography is getting you Haddonfield, New Jersey, and the Crystal Lake Diner within 5 minutes of our house.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to wonder, with the Haddonfield connection to Halloween, this movie, I don't know if you noticed, George, but is 100% a Halloween ripoff, like a cash-in on the success of Halloween. So I wonder if they looked at the map and were just like, well, there's Haddonfield. Ooh, Voorhees, that's a cool name.
Voorhees.
Let's use that for the city. And then like in rewrites, they're like, no, that's the last name. We're going to name him after that chick from Saved by the Bell.
Who's not alive yet.
Yeah, true.
Beginning of the movie,
Mm-hmm.
you get your point of view shot, your subjective camera. You get the kill. This time they kill the boyfriend and the girlfriend. What? We're escalating from Halloween, if you notice.
Uh-huh.
But otherwise, that's the opening of Halloween. Just moved to a new spot.
It was in a barn.
Are you
right, or
thinking
something?
that the whole time, or are you just like, oh, what's going to happen? Ooh, what's going to happen? And not registering that you've already seen this once.
The first person camera view I picked up on, I didn't really think, oh gosh, this is exactly like Halloween when I watched it, because this, the scenario was different. The other, Halloween happens in a house. It's a brother and a sister. It was different. The relationship between the people was different.
Right. And it wasn't as artistically done either. Like,
No.
I can tell. I think the cinematographer was just doing a handheld. I don't think it was a steady cam.
Yeah, when he's going through the cabin with the kids, it's very clearly like laborious handheld 35 millimeter.
Yeah, it's very shaky. It's like
He's not very agile with that thing.
Yeah, that's what she said.
But I think that's what makes the Halloween opening sequence so classy for me, is that continuous, uncut, steady cam.
Yeah.
It's you could not steal that without getting in trouble. I'm glad they didn't try.
I'm sure you could steal that. That would be really easy. And I'm pretty sure about 15 other movies do by the time this movie comes out.
Really?
Yeah.
In 2 years?
I think so, man. There's a lot that pop up. Maybe by the time you get Friday Part 2, you've got at least 15 different clones that have all stolen random elements from Halloween. But we can't talk about which ones because George hasn't seen them yet. One thing about this movie, it's similar to Halloween, but it is vastly like cranked up, as we say, to 11. The use of the scenery as a constant, ominous kind of predator. You know, Haddonfield for most of that movie is just there's one scary guy and we know where he is most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But at this one, man, that killer, wherever they are, they're always lurking, man. They're always looking. They're always just behind that tree, and we don't know what they are yet.
He's using the trees.
No choppas in this one, though.
No chopper. Get to the chopper.
One thing I would say that this movie succeeds in a place that Halloween doesn't, and strongly, is that sense of mystery with them basically taking the Jalo playbook and Americanizing it. Who done it? Who's doing it? Who is the killer? Now, granted, you can't really play along, right? Because you aren't introduced to Pamela until basically her confession, right? Like, you don't get a lot of lead-in time with her. But there's something to be said for a movie when you literally cannot guess. And it's clear that you don't know for sure, but there's some evidence that maybe you'll be able to figure it out. There's a little bit of playing along at home along with the movie that adds a little something that Halloween's lacking. And you don't really think about it watching Halloween because it's a great movie. But now that you think about it, like, man, I knew that was Michael the whole time. The only real mystery is where did he go at the end, right? Like, the rest of the time it's just, oh, yeah, that's Michael.
And why is he doing it?
Oh, hey, it's Michael.
It's probably the bigger mystery.
Oh, hey, it's Michael.
That would be the mystery.
Ooh, something scary happened. It's Michael.
Now, hold on a sec, because you're making it sound like this movie is a complete ripoff. It's not. At least not to me watching it. You know, the fact that the killer was first person basically the entire movie, right?
Yeah.
So you don't see the killer like you see Michael throughout the entire movie of Halloween. That was a big, big difference.
And I don't think they did the POV as a ripoff of Halloween per se. I think it was more, how do we have this killer not get seen the whole time?
Yeah.
Because it's a woman. So we can't even show like off the shoulder shots, and we can't show anything that would show any part of the body until like little cropped parts. So yeah, it you have to do POV, but I don't think they were totally ripping off the Halloween POV.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
No, I thought it was different enough that while I was watching it, I didn't think, oh, this is just Halloween 2.0. I didn't.
There are a lot of movies that you will think that.
Right.
Some of them are Halloween movies. A lot of them are not. I'm thinking of one in particular starring a certain funny man turned straight man. Do you know the one I'm referring to, Travis? Also, maybe starring Jamie Lee Curtis. Do you know the one I'm referring to?
Talking about Prom Night?
I'm talking about Prom Night.
Yeah.
That movie actually does something really interesting with the Halloween formula, so I hope we get to watch that at some point. But that is much more a direct kind of, oh, hey, you know, Halloween, here's how we're doing it a little different.
Well, as much as they thieve from Halloween, I also think they take you away from it enough by doing the gratuitous kills.
I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't see any gratuity.
But I mean, in your face, like Savini, that's what he's known for. Before Savini, it was like, okay, we're going to show this real quick. Savini's like, no, I can cut that hatchet. I can make it look like it's right in her eyeball, and I'm going to do it. Like I wrote down here, Savini, the necessity is the mother of invention. Before him, even when you look at Dawn of the Dead, his effects in that movie were not that good compared to this one. So even within a couple years, he improved so much on, you know, blood quality, the appliances, how to use, you know, fake torsos, and, you know, the whole thing with Kevin Bacon. None of that body is his. It's Kevin Bacon's head on a fake body, and you don't even really notice it.
Nope.
So
they just kept EMTs on standby and were like, okay, you can strangle him with his own blood for 14 seconds. Then we have to patch him back up or he'll die.
Yeah, he's just sitting in a chair, and the fake body's attached to his body.
I refuse to believe it. I like my version better.
Well, he lived to do about 75 more movies. So.
Allegedly. And a really nice, touching tribute to John Prine right after he died, with him and his wife playing a little song. That was very nice. Kevin Bacon's like disowned this movie franchise, and that's fine.
Has he?
Yeah, he doesn't seem to really be that excited to talk about it anymore, which is a shame because his death is like the game changer,
iconic,
right? That's the moment when you go from like, hey, we've seen this before, to like, oh no.
Well, he's actually in talks of possibly playing Freddy Krueger, so it would be nice to see him come full circle and embrace the genre again.
Well, he's done horror since then. You know, he did Stir of Echoes and Hollow Man.
Right.
But I just haven't seen him out in front, like, proud of his work in this movie. Now, granted, some of his work in this movie is a little rough. So maybe he sees it as an artist would and just can't, doesn't want to own up to lesser scenes. But
That's probably it.
Yeah.
who knows? He seems like a nice dude. So
Well, he came from a soap opera at the time, so they weren't really worried about acting so much when he was working for soap operas.
I really think the acting in this is pretty good. Now, yeah, they
It
do
is
have the
pretty good.
theater guys, and it does seem like they're almost playing to a second camera further down the road a lot of the time. Like, it's just a little
Yeah.
too big.
Especially when you get two of the biggest over actors on the screen at the same time.
Oh,
Like,
my gosh.
Alice and Mrs. Voorhees together is way too much
Way too much acting.
overacting. It's like sometimes Betsy Palmer channels a little bit of the old Nicolas Cage.
I do
It's
really
like-
enjoy their fight, though. I know that
Yeah.
the chase becomes like, well, I mean, from Chainsaw, right? I mean, that's
Right.
what we've got to do at the end of every movie now is have a nice 5-10 minute chase. But I mean, they get pretty gritty, and then Alice hits Mrs. Voorhees in the crotch with a gun, and you get this weird like Freudian phallic moment where suddenly she has a rifle dick for a minute, and then she takes it back. She steals the power away from Mrs. Voorhees by stealing her rifle dick. What? Like,
I didn't even think of rifle dick. I just thought, why would you hit a woman in her nuts? I'm not really sure.
In her non-existent nuts. Yeah, listen, I don't know what it feels like. I imagine it's probably not pleasant. I don't know if it's
okay, I'll get to the socials. All right, guys.
Anyways.
You said rifle dick. I mean, he took us down a road.
That's true. I opened the door, I turned on the lights, and I said, "Boys, come on in."
Have at it.
I really did think that.
I thought it was strange to hit a woman in the crotch, yes.
Yeah, I was like, does that even really hurt that bad? Oh, well, it's a movie. Just keep watching.
So you go from Halloween, mostly kind of underplayed gore, very little blood. That one lady gets her throat slit, and I didn't even see it until I got to the most recent 4K release.
Yes.
So, I mean, obviously not the goriest thing. This movie opens with a moderately violent kill of the two lovebirds, but then, man, poor Annie. The opening girl who you think is going to be your main girl, and then the throat slit. Probably the best looking throat slit I've seen up to this point, up to 1980. That
Yeah.
gross delayed blood thing. Ugh.
Yep.
It's become his trademark.
The thing about Tom Savini effects, this is not new information for most people, but for George it probably is. He was in Vietnam as a combat photographer. And what he'll talk about in interviews is, if it doesn't make me feel the way that the real stuff did, I need to do a better job.
Right.
And this is one of those effects that makes me, even having seen it multiple times, just go, ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, in an era now where we kind of glorify gore as like a yay moment for some reason, we probably all need counseling and totes. But
Yeah.
in this one, it doesn't feel like a celebration. It just feels horrific. Just
It's
ugh,
brutal.
just ugh.
Yeah.
Well, that's why you hire him.
Yep.
And he just got better with age, too. Like, the stuff he does in future Fridays is even better.
You mean the best is yet to come? So my favorite non-entity in this movie, as far as character development and acting goes, what'd you guys think about the motorcycle cop?
Thought he was kind of a stiff.
He apparently was added in during rewrites. He's not in the original penning of the script, and the original writer was actually mad about some of the rewrites, and that was one of the things that they put in there. That and the Jason popping out at the end of the movie.
Columbia Gold, man.
Yeah.
What? Who is
Yeah,
this
so-
guy? And then did you notice he crashed the motorcycle, but they just cut right before he crashed?
No.
Right before the cut, his ass is going off the road, and he's putting his feet down like, oh, God, I don't know what I'm doing.
I'll have to check that out. I
Go
missed
back
that.
and that's a good little laugh at that guy's expense.
That's like when the stormtrooper hits his head walking in the room.
It is.
And his
Absolutely.
helmet is crooked the whole scene. And you're like, dude, fix your helmet.
Director said I'm not allowed to touch it, so I just got to stand here with
touch
my
nothing.
crooked head.
Just leave me alone. Nothing to see here.
Poor guy. My favorite thing, I think, is the voyeurism of this movie.
Mm.
Because it kind of made me think of how today, with social media, like everybody is just letting everybody in their life, every second of their life is... So we're all voyeurs, basically, in everybody's life.
But we're all so alone.
But we're also alone. And this movie kind of put that in my mind. Like, I'm thinking, everybody's being watched. Every single person's being watched. And you don't know by who or by how many. Because technically, when this came out, you had movies like The Hills Have Eyes and all that stuff. So it's like, you don't know, is it one killer? Is there multiple killers? I think Assault on Precinct 13 came out recently. So it's like, it could be multiple people watching these people. So that's what even though I knew the story, I'm still watching it thinking, wow, this could be a gang watching these kids. This could be a total wipeout.
Yeah.
I just hate being watched. And that whole thing kind of was more scary than any mom or kid from the lake.
They used that element a lot in The Strangers, which came out
Yes.
back in the early 2000s. Scariest movie in decades, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that violent, but it's just so well crafted with that constant presence, right? It's a voyeur, but it's also like a presence you can feel but not always see, man, outside your cabin, man. It's really effective.
Yeah, they use that in Us as well.
Oh, yeah. Just saw that recently. That movie doesn't make any flippin' sense at the end, but
No.
it's pretty
I was
good.
kind of yeah, well, that's for a different show.
It's
but
pretty good, but like,
It was good until like the
what?
last 20 minutes. And then I was like, wait, what?
I had a real what moment where I was like, did we have to? Did we have to? Did we have to go down that road?
Did you just get by some toxic waste?
No, that's
sounds
how
like
that
it.
one lady
It's
talks
like-
that whole time. She just breathes in.
Yes, I know.
like,
It's breathed in.
What
with
are
the
we
words.
doing with it? I
That's
don't want to
because-
talk about it anymore.
Because she was from the opposite side.
Oh.
So she was talking inwards.
Right, but nobody else did that. What?
No one else did
That was a
that.
confusing movie.
I don't
I
know
love
what
Jordan
you guys
Peele.
are talking about.
Yeah,
I love
Jordan
Jordan
Peele.
Peele, but that one, that might have been a miss for me.
That was out there.
But Elizabeth Moss, man, that lady is always bringing her A game.
Yeah. But a lot of the first hour of that stuff has a lot of the same Friday the 13th feel where you're just, they're 10 feet away, then they're 5 feet away, then they're like right on your front door. Like, it's just very scary to be watched when you don't know who's watching you.
The camera work in this movie was similar to Halloween in the sense that it was filmed in such a way that the killer could come at you from any angle at any moment.
Can we talk about strip monopoly?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What better way to make a game that's crappy less crappy?
I'm still not sure of the rules. Like, did they have a value table? You know, is a boot like $50 and like an underpants like $200? Because I really feel like you're getting a raw deal if you can land on Boardwalk and lose a watch, but then you land on like Baltic Avenue and suddenly it's like, you know, there goes the underbritches. That doesn't seem fair.
Seems like a short game.
Yeah,
You know?
that's what she said.
Maybe they skipped the part where they like went through their wardrobes to make sure everybody had the same number of articles. Go through all the technical details. No, that ring doesn't count. No, your earrings don't count. Stop trying to use your nose ring, Alice. That's not fair.
One of the things I thought was, why don't these kids put their clothes back on before they leave the cabin?
It was
Multiple
raining, man. You
times.
don't want to get your clothes wet?
Well, it was raining, so I don't want to get my body wet. I don't know.
I really like that scene where she kills the power generator. And it's literally, I mean, the killer, whoever the killer is, kills the
Yes.
power
Oh, right.
generator. And
Danger spoilers.
you're from outside in the subjective camera, but maybe it's just like a static camera. It doesn't really make it clear. And then the lights just...
Well, I know when she popped those lights back on, I thought that girl, since she was near the archery, I thought she was going to be taking a few arrows.
They do kind of
like-
tease that, don't they?
Yeah, and nothing happened. And then they have the off-screen kill.
I do like that they pay off the off-screen kill, though. You know, in some movies, you would just never see
Yeah.
that character again. And then this one, she becomes Jetsam, which is kind of fun.
Who is still moving on the floor, by the way.
Oh, they're all...
She was twitching a few times. I'm like, no,
I mean,
pause
if
it.
you look closely enough, even that guy stuck to the door, like, winks
Yeah.
at one point, or his eye twitches when they open the door. Like, What are we gonna ask of these guys? They're probably
Hey,
making
how's it going?
$10 a day.
They're
Yeah.
theater actors, so
They're theater actors, so they're playing to the guy in the back.
yeah, they're making sure the guy in the back knows that they're dead as well.
Yeah, be dead but be broad. Is that
Yeah.
what we're doing?
Like, this
Right.
is your moment. This is my moment. I'm gonna die on stage, and everybody's gonna see it.
So I need to know, George, and I wasn't there. Travis, were you there while he was watching any of this?
Yeah, the last half hour. I think I showed up right around when the good girl brushes her teeth and then goes outside because she hears a little kid saying,
Help
"Mom, help me, help me!" Like the fly, help
Help
me.
me.
Yeah,
Hey, so I need to know about George and the final jump scare out of the lake. Did he jump?
he did not jump, but he said, "Oh shit."
I mean, I'll take that.
Yeah, it wasn't like a "oh shit." It was just like, "Oh."
Is
oh,
that
shit.
where like comedians go, "Oh, that's funny," and that's like
Right.
good enough because they're not gonna laugh at anything? George is just like, "Oh shit." It's like, wow, yeah, scared him, got him good. It's as good as
Well,
we'll
I
get
saw his
George.
outer reaction. What was your inner reaction? Did you think something was going to happen? Because it was kind of like that corny
No.
music playing.
No, well,
It's like a really bad sitcom
Again.
music.
again, this movie threw me off from the beginning. Well, not from the beginning, but the middle. I didn't know what to expect, so when that corny music was happening, yes, I did expect something,
Mm.
but I didn't really know what. And when Jason or whatever that
Jason?
was, I mean, obviously it's supposed to be Jason, but it's not the Jason that I was
It's the
expecting.
boy in the lake.
It's the boy in the lake.
The boy in the lake.
When it happened, I thought that looked amazing. Like,
Mm.
it happened really quick, and it did scare the shit out of me. Heart was pounding.
Yeah, he did not jump though, but I could tell it was something.
That was a self high five I just did. Very happy.
Can you social distance yourself?
It got me.
I'll reach my arms 6 feet apart and we'll do an
There you
air
go.
clap.
There you go. Air clap. Good. Then
So,
a 40-year-old movie made you jump. That's good.
so Kevin Bacon's kill got me
Oh,
when that happened.
it does
Right.
kind of come out of nowhere, and you're probably like trying to figure out like, oh, is somebody gonna jump out and get her while she leaves? Like,
Well, you know why it got you? Because you just watched Halloween, and usually after they're done the deed, there's like, that's kind of like the calm before the storm, and they got you during the calm.
You know what really got me? The reason why it got me was because the other counselor was on the bunk above him. Right? They show you that. He gets a drip of blood on him, and he wipes it off, and you think immediately he's going to find his friend up there dead.
So you have some time.
Exactly. You think, oh, he's going
Right.
to find that dead body. As soon as that drip hits him, and the drip hits him, he wipes it, and then boom.
Boom, he's dead. Right.
That got me.
yep, and it definitely does a thing where it realigns your perspective from him up, and you just think
Mhm.
if there's a threat, it's gonna come from above where that body
Right.
is. Yeah, it does. It kind of gets you in the back when you turn your back on it.
It's a good gag. No pun intended, but it's that's what they call those things, like that special effects gag, to basically stab someone through the chest from behind, but it's not his body at all.
Allegedly, I mean,
Allegedly.
I'm still thinking just great EMT work there on the side of the
I
film.
have the drawings at home, and yeah, it's not him.
I recreated it in 8th grade using a paper mache body. It was
After I saw-
amazing.
yup.
I failed the
Yep.
class. My teacher
Listen,
reported me to
Savini-
the police, but it was worth
I wanted
it.
to I wanted to be Tom Savini when I was in high school.
I still want to be Tom Savini. That
Yeah.
guy's awesome.
I studied the stuff he did. I literally was going to go into that field. That's what I wanted to do. My parents talked me out of it. I've been watching his stuff for a long time.
So we talked earlier last week when we were doing the Halloween episode about how it was like Halloween was like a streamlined, improved, Americanized, trim all the fat off, just horror fest version of what was happening in Italy with especially the Umberto Lenzi stuff. And I think I made a pretty compelling case that he'd seen at least some of that work and definitely borrowed some of that musical flair for the Halloween theme.
Yes.
Mhm.
You ruined it for me forever.
This movie, though, is a little different because it really kind of does its best to like cite the high points of its lineage coming from Psycho rather than to just borrow wholesale from Italian movies.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got the Psycho theme. We talked about that. the story itself is just inverse Psycho. Did you catch that? Instead of mom being dead and son doing the killing, son's dead and mom's doing the killing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then it actually also cites Spiral Staircase, which is one of like the really old Hays Code era horror movies where they have a scene where the victim turns to camera and goes, "Oh, it's you," right before they get killed by the mysterious killer. You know, like that Steve Christie scene.
Right.
It's just borrowed from its history. Like that's, you know, it's almost like citation rather than just exploitation of a previous film.
Right.
So that part's pretty cool. Have you ever heard the story behind this movie, George?
No.
Basically, Sean Cunningham, the producer, took out an ad in Variety, a full-page ad, saying, "Coming next year, Friday the 13th," because we already had Halloween making money. So to drum up money for his next movie, he advertised a movie called Friday the 13th. But the script he had was originally called The Long Night at Camp Blood and had to be adapted quite a bit from what Victor Miller originally intended.
Yeah.
Before it became Friday the 13th. They didn't do a whole lot. I mean, they added the day and the kid in the lake and, you know, a few minor points you've already talked about. But when it came time to make the movie, he got some funding from a guy out of Boston called Phil Scuderi or Scudera. I'm not great with my Italian name pronunciation, as is a theme on this show.
Yeah, you love Italian films.
Love Italian films. Not great pronouncing the names. Well, boys and girls. Mostly George, because everybody else probably already has heard some version of this. There's a movie that came out in Italy called A Bay of Blood. And this movie and its next two sequels borrow a lot of imagery, weapon selection, kill design, gore implementation, and even costuming from this one Italian movie.
And Tom Savini was the special effects artist on this movie.
Oh, that would have been hilarious. But a lot of the guys in the crew and the writing room and all that, they refused to acknowledge the movie. Now, in the U.S., it had like 8 different titles, but one of them was Twitch of the Death Nerve, which is a pretty cool name. And
it's a good band name.
Yeah, man. Depends on where the Death Nerve is, I guess.
Right, that's true.
So
apparently in Mrs. Voorhees' pants.
Ooh.
Oh, that's frightening. One of the funnier things to come out of the revelation that maybe this Twitch of the Death Nerve / A Bay of Blood movie influenced this movie, especially Friday 2 Takes a Kill, like shot for shot out of the movie. Like this one, you could almost be like, well, maybe. And at the end of my speech here, you might still be thinking, well, I don't know, that's close, but not as bad as John Carpenter and Umberto Lindsay. By the time you get to Friday 2, I mean, it's like, oh, hey, they cut the camera, they did that's the same thing.
Is that the thing with the sack as well?
No, oddly enough.
No.
It's,
okay. That's something else.
Yeah, that was a different movie that they borrowed from. The interesting thing about A Bay of Blood that people don't talk about enough is where it fits in the lineage of Italian movies and how it connects to this movie, but also to The Last House on the Left, which was another movie made by Wes Craven and Sean Cunningham, the guy from Friday, earlier in the 70s. So I'm going to take you back on a little journey. Have I ever talked to you guys about Mario Bava?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mario Bava was the Italian director that basically invented the modern, in the 60s, giallo.
Mm-hmm.
Without him, we don't have any of these movies, because it was his movies that adapted Hitchcock into something beyond, to where Hitchcock is eventually copying the movies that copied Bava, who copied him. So the whole circle comes complete in the mid-70s. But Bava comes along, and he makes a bunch of gothic castles and cool lighting and, like, you know, bright green and bright red and a castle wall with a knife. And then for variety, he does one that's in a fashion house. Bright greens, bright reds in a fashion house with a knife. And the follow-up to that one, same thing. Like a fashion house that looks like a castle, bright colors, and knives. Like he's got kind of a thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a style.
But then Bay of Blood comes out. And it's brown. And it's beige. And granted, it's the 70s. But up until this point, this does not look like a Bava. It's naturalistic. It's in the woods. There's an old decrepit resort. Doesn't look at all like a Bava. So what's interesting is he's also Bava himself kind of borrowing an aesthetic that popped up the year before in a movie called Whirlpool. Now, this is a Spanish movie directed by Jose Larraz. It's a hell of a movie. And it also has a strip poker scene that you could argue shows up in this movie as a strip Monopoly scene.
Mm-hmm.
So that's weird. But Whirlpool pops up, does pretty good business, and it has this amazing new aesthetic where you're out in the woods and it looks like fall, and everything just kind of looks gross and dirty, and it works. And it centers around a lake, right? Like the whirlpool that it refers to in the title. So Bava suddenly hits the brakes on Gothic, and his next movie looks just like Whirlpool. So what? Like, where did this come from? Well, Whirlpool looked cool and made money, so now Bava's making one too. He makes The Bay of Blood, and the plot is nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. I still can't really track. I've seen it 10 times. I can't ever remember who the killer is because it's just such a... It's a romp. It's supposed to be taken, I think, tongue-in-cheek. At least that's what Tim Lucas would have you believe.
You mean it's satire?
Maybe, but it is super gory. And the gore in it is like the axe to the face that you have in Friday the 13th is kind of, it's very similar to a bill hook to the face, like an inverted machete, where the guy's eye moves despite the fact he's got the machete in his face. Like, it's very similar to the axe.
Right.
Almost as well executed, too, 10 years earlier, which is pretty cool. But when they go to make Friday the 13th, I imagine the conversation goes something like, hey, guys, I've got this name, Friday the 13th. What scripts you guys got? You know, like, I got to make this movie because I made a promise, and we got to rip off Halloween as quick as possible. And so I don't know enough about the actual interaction between the writers and the producer and all this. But for a while there, I was kicking around this idea that it's like, okay, you've got Friday the 13th. You're putting it at a lake. There's a lot of blood. It's like, man, I wonder if at any time they were thinking about calling this movie Lake of Blood, just to be straight up like rip off a Bay of Blood. And then it hits me, oh my God, they call it Camp Blood.
Camp Blood.
From the first moment, from the jump. They're like, oh, hey, this is Camp Blood. Like, they're not even hiding it. But nobody knows a Bay of Blood because it played drive-ins under 10 different names. Bizarre, man.
They've been doing this for half a century.
Yeah, man.
Just
We
stealing.
looked at what the Italians did because they had no sense of, like, I don't know, caution when it came to gore or stunts or storytelling, you know.
Well, thank God they weren't stealing from, like, Bollywood. These horror movies would be strange as shit.
Have you ever seen the thriller Bollywood?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Not amazing.
Bollywood's time is coming, man. They're going to figure it out. We're going to get some good horror out of India at some point.
Well, we got a lot of good horror out of Japan, so
I'm going to send you a screenshot and just tell me if maybe there's any similarity of costume or...
Can we just say I'm sure there is?
Yeah, but I'm going to send it to you anyway. I like to show and tell. Plus, I took the time to take these pictures.
Yeah,
so
screenshots.
you got to look at them.
I enjoy your show and tell, personally. It ruins my love of movies, but I enjoy it.
No, I mean, that's the thing. This movie is so much. It's Psycho and it's Bay of Blood. The plot actually makes sense. You're invested in the characters. It does a whole lot that Bay of Blood never did.
You know what? I saw parts of this movie, and I made the same connection. Don't remember where I saw it, but this guy looks familiar.
But yeah, he's wearing Mrs. Voorhees' sweater.
I saw him say something that almost was like verbatim from Friday the 13th.
Oh,
it's that scene.
I'm sure they borrowed plenty. And I watched it in Italian today, so the delivery would be a little different than if I'd watched it in English.
Right.
So I'm not saying he didn't say that. But he's wearing Mrs. Voorhees' sweater, and then the axe that I sent you a picture of is the axe. I mean, the same kind of model of axe they put in the bed when they find it on the pillow. And then notice the lady, who's one of the leads and kind of the Alice of the story, straight up like takes a nap on the couch right at the climax of the movie, just like Alice does in Friday the 13th. Like, so they're not just borrowing aesthetics, like they're borrowing plot points.
Well, you know, when the lights get shut off, you get a little tired.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. You know, you don't get energized and more ready to survive. No, you take a little nappy nap.
It's nappy poo.
I never understood the let me take a nap, except it does give you a good break narratively for him to disappear, for her to not know what's going on. I think we just need a little bit more. That, if any part of this movie never really worked for me, it was the let me make tea real quick. Never mind, I'm going to fall asleep. Like, that whole part, I think they could have handled that better. But for the budget they had, for the amount of like experience they had on the crew, and for the final product that they put out, I'm not going to hold them accountable for that. That's fine.
I mean, this was pretty much an independent film, wasn't it?
It was produced independently. It was what they call a negative pickup, where basically an independent crew makes the movie without a distributor, and then they take it around to different companies and say, hey, do you want to sell our movie? Hey, do you want to sell our movie? And so what that does is it saves you a lot of money on union stuff because you don't have to use the same rules that Hollywood does. And it's insane to think that a company as big as Paramount would pick this up, except that they're riding the wave of Halloween success. So it's not just that they're benefiting from ripping off the idea, quote unquote, of Halloween, but I mean, they're really riding the wave, man, the market wave. And I mean, it's good business.
I think Evil Dead was done the same way. Didn't Sam Raimi make that movie and then shop it around and see who would distribute it?
I would have to believe that was probably independent. It was the same thing. First one especially. You don't get a lot of studio notes when you make the movie yourself. Same with Freddy Part 2. You'll see that it also has some edges that you would never see in a Hollywood movie.
Right.
And it works. Like, it's great. I love Friday 2. Spoiler alert, it's my favorite one. It's great. I mean, there's one other one I like just as much, but we'll talk about that later.
10.
But by the time you get to Friday 3, George, keep an eye out. Friday 3, you're going to start seeing the hints that there was studio control. You're going to see decisions made that weren't made in the first two movies. And you're going to think, oh, right, Paramount now wants to...
Don't tell me anything.
Yeah.
I want to try and pick them out myself.
I'm not going to tell you anything.
The best part about the fact that we're going to sit down and watch these movies, all of them, is they're like children. Like, they all have awesomeness about them. You're going to love them all for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a few that you're going to hate, and you hate them so much you love them.
It really is like we have a little league team made up of these Friday movies.
Right.
And you may not want to put, Part 5 in at shortstop, but you don't want Part 5 to be off your team. You love Part 5. It's got to be there.
And you definitely don't want Part 10 as your catcher. You don't.
But what are we putting Part 10 in, like, left field?
Part 10 is like the ball boy.
Yeah, Part 10 might be rocking the Gatorade stand.
It has its moments. But, yeah.
I didn't even know there was 10 of them.
There's 12.
There's 12.
That's a ton.
If you count one of them, that's really not part of the series.
And then we're also going to make you watch the Halloween sequels as well. So just clear your schedule, George. You're going to be busy for the next couple months. Oh, I'm excited. This is my favorite franchise. Just to put it into perspective, not even related to the fact that I was watching this movie today. This morning when I woke up, I put on my second Friday the 13th shirt in 2 days. Like, I went from one to the other. And I spent all day drinking out of my Camp Crystal Lake mug. So, I mean...
Did you receive your Jason t-shirt in the mail yet?
Yes, and the mug to go with it, and the hoodie to go with it.
You got a mug?
I got 2 mugs, actually. I got a backup.
It's a parody of the Jaws poster. And it's a woman swimming on top of the water, and Jason's looking up at her like the shark.
It's amazing.
And it's where it usually says Jaws, it says Jason. I sent him a link, and he's like, I gotta have that. This is up your alley.
So, guys, years ago, I showed this movie to 3 people who had never seen it before, simultaneously. And this is in my old house. I had a theater room, seating for like 8 people, full projection screen, like an 80-inch screen in an era where that was a big deal. Huge surround sound theater speaker. Like, it was dope, as they say.
Legit.
It was too legit to quit. So I have these people over, and my wife and I are in the front row. My friends are all in the back row. And we get to the end scene, and Alice has defeated Mrs. Voorhees in gory decapitation fashion. My wife and I, we hunch down into the couch so they don't see us giggling at the fact that they're about to get scared. We're looking at each other like, oh, here it comes. Oh, we're going to love it. Jason jumps out of the lake, and I hear 3 individual screams from the back row, and I feel good. I feel like I've done my job. I've scared these 3 people. And immediately, I hear because it's my single friend, and then my married couple friends. I hear a married guy go, "Oh, honey, are you okay?" And I'm like,
Oh my
man,
God.
that is really sweet that he's like nervous about his wife. And then I'm like, oh no, did somebody pee on my couch? Like, oh no. No. Even better than that. When he got scared, 275-pound former offensive lineman friend of mine
Oh no.
backhanded his wife in
Oh,
fright.
man.
Oh my God.
Jeez.
She was fine. But yeah,
Oh man.
it scared him so bad he smacked his wife.
Yeah. See, I remember seeing that scene. That was one of the first horror movies I saw. Was the ending of this, and that scared the crap out of me.
I'm amazed I didn't know about that jump scare going into it.
I'm just so glad you didn't know about Mrs. Voorhees, because that's been spoiled in pop culture a number of times. To where,
Yes.
like, even today I saw an article scroll through my Twitter feed with her picture holding a knife. And I was like, man,
No,
you're going
right.
to spoil this for everybody.
It ranks up there with Luke, I Am Your Father. Like, it's one of those things where everybody references her being the killer in this movie. You're just like, you get, like I said to George when I showed up, there's no graphics on this DVD that would give that away. And he said no. And I was happy because they so quickly give away everything in the packaging because they assume you've already seen it. You know, they assume you're buying it for the 5th time. So when you buy these packaged,
That's me.
yeah, you
That's
buy
me.
you
Fifth
buy
time,
them. They
sixth
have a
time,
picture of
seventh time.
her holding that knife that gives it all away, and I'm like, oh shit, I hope it wasn't in there. But no, I'm looking at the graphic on the TV, and it's like the poster art. So
Yeah, I double checked before I sent George these movies. I didn't want anything spoiled for the first 8, because I figure there's enough surprises along the way that we don't want to get careless.
and the formula is the same. They just they do it so well.
Is it though?
That-
Is it the
No,
same?
It's enough to where you think it's going to be the same, and then they throw you.
All right, that's enough talking
Yeah.
about it.
They throw you enough.
I will say, I love the first one, and I think it's a really successful film. I think it takes the Giallo whodunit mysterious killer thing that Halloween was lacking, mixes it with just enough Halloween up front to really get your bearings, and a lot of the same, like, go get me a beer, right, is replaced by, oh, I
Mhm.
gotta go pee, right? But, like, you got all your notes from Halloween. They're just distributed different. They're influenced by other things. They're gory as all get out. Thank you, Tom Savini, and just the 80s, I guess, for bringing us that.
And I believe Greg Nicotero was involved in some of the Fridays as well.
He definitely, Greg from K&B,
The K&B.
he did Jason Goes to Hell. 'Cause
Yeah.
he's talked about in interviews that other people have probably already read before they hear this, but the fact that he turned a certain prop from Jason Goes to Hell into a speaker stand. He's a guitar player too,
Nice.
George. You'll
I
like,
love
you'll like
him.
Nicotero.
I met him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I know of Nicotero
Oh yeah, you're a
Yeah, he
Walking
knows him
Dead guy.
Walking Dead,
from
yeah.
Walking Dead.
Yeah, see, you Walking Dead folks have no idea how long we've waited for him to become famous, and now he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met him back when he was working Nightmare on Elm Street. He was working K&B, was doing stuff for that too. And he was like, I wouldn't say he was a nobody, but he was, one of 4 or 5 guys in the group. And when I met him, he was nobody. Nobody knew who he was, and now he's who he is. I love it.
I think I first found out about him on the Day of the Dead special features, where they go through and they're like, yeah, hey, it's Tom Savini, but here's my new guy. And you meet this like cool rock and roll guy who also makes awesome guts. Like, oh, okay, I can figure out this guy's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I can definitely see how this movie is almost like the culmination of all of the things that you've shown me thus far. You can see the Hitchcock, you can see the Giallo, the Halloween, the Halloween, all of that.
Some of Wayne's World in there.
A little bit.
Party time, excellent.
You had your comedic guy in there.
Oh man, what a knucklehead.
I wrote down chock full of tropes.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, like, this movie has all of them.
Halloween didn't have a real like goofball, did it?
No, not really.
I'm trying to think what before this had like the just balls out knucklehead character, or was this guy the first of that trope?
Well, I guess in Texas was the whiny character.
Yeah, but he wasn't
Winston
fun.
or whatever his name was.
Like, I didn't miss him when he was gone.
Right. No one goes the way of Shelley and all that stuff. So yeah, you have to have the clown.
Yeah.
I do have to disagree. You keep saying that Halloween is missing that mystery killer thing. I don't think they ever tried to do that. I don't think it was ever a mystery. I think the mystery was why he was doing it.
Well, but do they tell you why he was doing it? Like, I watched Halloween just recently, and
No.
they never tell you why. So is that a mystery? Like, what I mean is they had this opportunity to be like, ooh, we got this guy killing people. Let's make it a 10 Little Indians kind of like whodunit kind of thing. And instead, they were just like, oh, hey, here's our killer. There he is as a kid. Guess what? He's out. Guess what he's doing? He killing. You want to see him? There he is. He's scary, right? Yeah, he is. Hey, there he is again. He's pretty scary. Oh, same mask. Okay. Oh, he's got a knife now. Let's kill it. Like, it's a ride. It's a thrill ride. But I just am so into the play along at home, try to figure it out. Like,
Right.
It stimulates a certain intellectual response that Halloween just doesn't have. So I'm not saying it's worse because it doesn't have it. I'm just saying they could have made it better by adding it. You couldn't do it in Halloween 2.
Right.
But you could do it in Halloween 1.
I know for me, I think with Friday 13th, what would have made it better for me was actually showing us Mrs. Voorhees at some point throughout the movie as a victim. Like, I know you don't have to do the whole reveal, but show her character interacting. So when she shows up, you're not like, oh, who's this?
Yeah, we're an hour into an 80-minute movie and we just got a new character?
Yeah, we're just learning this character. Like, she should have been maybe at the diner or whatever. Like, at the beginning, you should have seen her at a couple points where she didn't stick out like a sore thumb. Because as soon as you saw her, you knew she's driving a Jeep that might be Steve's.
Mm-hmm.
She comes out of nowhere in the middle of the night, and she's just got like this, "Hi, I'm here to save you" face. And it's just like, to me, like you said, you don't introduce a character 89 minutes into a 90-minute movie.
Yeah, I mean, that has to come down to budget. Just like with Donald Pleasance being used in limited fashion, you just can't afford that much Betsy Palmer because, I mean, Betsy Palmer's stock is pretty high, right?
Well, you could have filmed in the same day she was there for the night scene, maybe during the day, just film her in the town. Because I know where they filmed it, and everything's pretty close to each other. So they could have easily driven her over there, maybe just bumped into the camper, just something. Because my guard was up when I saw it. I was just like, wait. And I remember back then watching it going, wait, why am I just seeing her now?
Did that work on you, George? Or were you like, hold on a second. Who's this lady?
Well,
I mean, once she introduces herself as a Voorhees, you have to understand that she's a Voorhees. But before that, when she comes out of the Jeep, are you like, oh, this is our killer because I haven't met her yet? Or are you like, ooh, a twist. Let me see where this takes me.
Well, I was all over the place because when what's his name that owns the camp?
Steve.
I think.
Christie.
Yes.
Christie.
When Steve Christie comes out of the diner and he's driving a Jeep, I thought, oh, he's crazy, right? He's the one who killed the camper in the beginning.
Oh yeah, they totally set that up, and I'm glad it worked.
Yes, so that kept me guessing, and then it breaks down and blah blah blah. We know how it goes, and then
you know the thing,
and then yeah, Mrs. Voorhees drives up in a Jeep, and now I'm thinking someone's driving his Jeep back to because I know he's already been back and killed. Who's driving his Jeep back?
They purposely made him stranded on the side of the road, and the cop picked him up. So you see his Jeep abandoned.
Yes.
So then you're like, oh, maybe she found his Jeep. Like, yeah,
maybe she knows who he is. Maybe how did she find out that? And all these things are going through my mind. I was guessing, and then obviously when she says who she is, I'm like, okay, well what's her deal? How involved is she?
When that first happened, no one knew who Jason Voorhees was.
Right.
So that reveal was not a big deal back then, but now that's a household name.
Right.
So when you hear her say, oh, I'm Mrs. Voorhees, well, all of a sudden, I was kind of trying to watch you because I knew as soon as she said that, you were going to go, oh,
Yeah.
But then I was hoping you were, like I said earlier, I was hoping you were going to think, oh, well, maybe she's working with Jason.
I was just trying to analyze how involved she was in everything that was going on. I didn't assume that she was the killer. I didn't assume that she was... I didn't assume anything. I couldn't at that point. This movie kept me guessing the entire time.
Excellent.
So...
Party time.
You know what would have really done a whole lot is just, like you were saying, just give me 1 minute of her interacting with Steve Christie during the daylight hours at the camp.
Yeah,
or
like
at
maybe
the
she gives him
diner.
the keys, or he gives her the keys,
Just,
or something.
You know, and she might even have like an ominous little warning that sounds like another, you're all doomed, right? But more
Yeah.
like subdued, you know, like, hey, Steve, are you sure? I really don't want you guys to get into any trouble. You know what happened last
Yeah.
time, you know.
Right. Yeah, it could have been something like, oh, hi, Steve. You're up at the camp. I heard you're reopening. Like, you think it's too soon? Like, kind of thing like that, where he just nonchalantly says, oh, hi, Mrs. Voorhees. So he says her name. So when she announces who she is, it's not a strange... Like, it just sounds like she's announcing herself.
What would be amazing, though, if you wanted to go like next level, how would Dan fix it? What you would do is you would show her early on, especially if she wasn't yet dressed in like commando grandma sweater with a knife.
Right.
Because then when she drives up and is like, oh, hi, I'm Mrs. Voorhees, and I'm here to save the day. Big old flippin' knife on my belt. You're like, ooh, grandma's here to get tough. Like, she's been at the edge of death, and she has now returned, and she is our hero. And then when she twists to be the bad guy, you'd be like, oh, you tricked me. But instead, it's just like, oh, a new character at 80 minutes into an 85-minute movie. Killer alert.
Yeah, that was the only problem I had with this movie, which is pretty good. Acting was solid, minus a few theater things.
I'll take a
But,
theater
yeah.
thing over
Oh, me too.
community
definitely.
theater, right? There's a couple of wonderful slasher movies that have these moments of like non-professional or just like straight up like, can we shoot in your gas station? Okay, but I got to be an actor. Okay, you can be the gas station attendant in my movie. I'm looking at The Mutilator. Have you guys ever seen Fall Break
No.
/ The Mutilator?
No.
It has the best locals playing themselves in a convenience store scene this side of Nail Gun Massacre. It's amazing.
Better than Jersey Girl?
Dude, I might send you a link to that for after this. This is off the air. You guys got to watch this real quick.
Yes. I have homework as well.
You're going on a fall break, walking hand in hand in the moonlight.
I find it funny that George makes the connection of all the movies that are connecting now. That's what a curriculum is.
We did it, man. This was
It's a
not
web.
by accident. Like, we picked
This was not bad.
the highlights. But this is it, man. Friday the 13th has culminated all the achievements of Halloween, Psycho, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Wayne's World, Spiral Staircase, A Bay of Blood, Whirlpool. They're all there, man.
I want to give him a list of next season. Chomping at the bit.
No, I want to make sure that our next curricula like fits together like this one did. Gotta have a theme. And in the meantime, we're gonna make him watch all the Jasons. Yes.
Sounds good to me.
Evolution of Jason.
All right, guys, that brings us to the end of the first semester and the first season of the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Remedial Film Pod. You can also find us at facebook.com/Remedial Film Pod and email us at remedialfilmpod@gmail.com. Over the next couple of weeks, George is going to be watching all of the Friday the 13th films, and we'll be covering them in a bit more casual fashion, sort of a fall break, if you will. We'll be back for Season 2 with a full curriculum of more varied movies in the future, but for now, we're going to let George get to know the man behind the mask. So at what point do we make George play the Friday the 13th video game?
Which one? The NES one or the newer one where he's in
The PlayStation one.
PlayStation.
Yeah.
I haven't even played that one yet. And I
What?
definitely want to. Yes.
Dude,
I don't own it.
every Tuesday night we play.
Wow.
We've played
Well,
for 2.5 years.
Once we can fly, I'll come out and play on Tuesday.
It's
suck at
online.
video
Just
games.
get your PSN going, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I suck at video games.
That's okay. We will gladly let you play as Jason if you're terrible. You'll be invincible until you're not, and then you will be sad, and we will be happy.
Until you get hit by a tidal wave of toxic waste. What's the premise? Like a bunch of people can play at the same time and they're all like counselors?
Okay, so it's
trying to survive?
asymmetrical competitive adversarial combat. So one person randomly is Jason, and he's pretty much invulnerable until he's not. And he has all kinds of horror movie powers, right? He can teleport, he can zip around the map sometimes, he can like become completely silent and be able to stalk up on somebody without the scary music, you know, just to trick people.
So there's geography involved?
Oh, there's so many maps. So much fun. And they're based on the locations, right? So you get parts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
And they're very well modeled. They have a lot of good familiar scenery. Today watching part 1, there's a scene where I think it's when Crazy Ralph goes bicycling away from Alice, who's standing in the cabin door looking out, looking all mean at him. And I see the lifeguard stand, and I go, oh, he's right by the boathouse. And then as the camera pans, there's the boathouse. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. So 7 counselors versus 1 Jason. And you don't have to fight Jason. You can just evade. And then you either fix a car and escape, fix a boat and escape, or you fix a phone and call the police and then survive long enough that the police show up. And then you have to run to the safety of the police.
Okay.
And
what's a boat going to get you if it's a lake?
Well, I mean,
Can't really get too far.
It can get you all the way to Manhattan, Travis.
That's true. That is true.
But it's one of those things where, like, the 5 of us have played together so long that, like, if one of us is not Jason, we are going to either escape or give you a heck of a fight, you know? It's fun. But it's not like, it doesn't take reflexes, it just takes patience. It's more intellectual than any game I've played, because after every round you have to think, oh God, what decision did I make that got me killed? And next time, how can I make a better decision? You know, it's not about Twitch. It's about where am I going to be? What's my strategy here? What's my best percentage to survive this encounter? And how do I implement it?
Right.
It's so cool.
I'll have to look into it.